Technology usually sells freedom. More options, more speed, more efficiency, more access. A new software system promises to simplify your business. A new platform promises to connect you to customers. A new cloud service promises unlimited scale. A new digital tool promises to eliminate complexity. And at the beginning, it often works. The product is useful. The service is convenient. The price is attractive. The system solves a problem, so the customer adopts it. Then the customer integrates it. The data moves into it. The employees learn it. The workflows are built around it. The customers begin interacting through it. And slowly, the system stops being a tool. It becomes infrastructure. The company no longer simply uses the platform. The company depends on it. Leaving becomes possible, but expensive. Switching becomes technically feasible, but operationally dangerous. The data can be exported, but the integrations may break. The employees can be retrained, but productivity may fall. The customers can be moved, but the relationships may be disrupted. The system can be replaced, but the cost may be enormous. This is tech lock-in. The moment a product becomes so deeply embedded that choosing something else becomes economically irrational. The customer may still have a choice, but the cost of exercising that choice keeps increasing. And this is where technology becomes more than technology. It becomes architecture. Because the most powerful system is not always the system with the best features. Sometimes, it is the system everyone else has already built their lives around. Every technology system creates a cost of adoption, but the most important cost may come later, the cost of leaving. Imagine a company that uses a software platform. At first, the company pays a subscription. The cost appears simple: a monthly fee, a yearly contract, a predictable expense. But over time, the company builds on top of the platform. Employees learn the interface, workflows are created, data accumulates. Third-party applications connect, reports are customized. Customers become familiar with the process. The software becomes part of the company's daily operation. The original subscription price may remain the same, but the cost of replacement has changed. The company is no longer replacing a piece of software, it is replacing an entire operating system for a part of its business. This creates switching costs, financial costs, technical costs, training costs, operational costs, data migration costs, legal costs, and opportunity costs. The business must ask, how long will the transition take? How many employees will need retraining? Will historical data remain accessible? Will the new system integrate with existing tools? Will customers notice the change? Will productivity fall during the transition? The answer to these questions creates friction, and friction creates retention. This is the economic logic of lock-in. The customer does not remain because leaving is impossible. The customer remains because leaving is expensive. That distinction is critical. A prison has walls. A locked-in platform may have contracts, data, integrations, habits, and years of accumulated dependency. The system does not need to physically prevent escape. It only needs to make escape costly enough. Data has a strange property. The more you accumulate, the harder it becomes to move. A small business may change systems relatively easily. It has fewer records, fewer integrations, fewer dependencies. But a large enterprise may accumulate years of information: customer histories, financial records, operational data, employee systems, analytics, artificial intelligence models, and proprietary processes. The data becomes an asset, but it can also become an anchor. Moving data requires time, security, compatibility, infrastructure, and trust. Some data can be exported easily, some cannot. Some systems are built around proprietary formats. Some workflows depend on specific APIs. Some information is connected to software that only one provider fully controls. This creates data gravity. The larger the data ecosystem becomes, the more difficult it becomes to move the ecosystem elsewhere. The data attracts more applications. The applications create more integrations. The integrations create more dependency, and the dependency creates more data. A cycle begins. More data, more services, more integration, more switching costs, more data. This is how a platform can become difficult to replace without ever explicitly forcing the customer to stay. The customer continues using the system because everything else is already inside it. The platform becomes the center of gravity. And once enough economic activity orbits around a platform, the platform begins to acquire structural power, not because it owns every business, but because the businesses increasingly depend on the same digital environment.
Modern businesses rarely use one piece of software. They use dozens, sometimes hundreds. Accounting connects to payments. Payments connects to banking. Customer data connects to marketing. Marketing connects to analytics. Analytics connects to artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence connects to cloud infrastructure. The systems are connected, and connection creates efficiency. But every connection can also create dependency. Imagine replacing one system. The question is no longer, can we install a new application? The question becomes, what else depends on the old application? This is the integration trap. A platform becomes more valuable when more systems connect to it, but the same integrations make the platform more difficult to replace. A company may technically have alternatives, but those alternatives may not support the same connections. The transition becomes a project, then a program, then a major transformation, and eventually, the company decides to stay, not because the platform is perfect, but because the architecture around the platform is too expensive to rebuild. This is one of the most powerful forms of modern lock-in. It is invisible. The customer does not see a physical barrier. There is no sign that says, you cannot leave. There is simply a growing network of dependencies. The system becomes deeply embedded in the organization, and the longer it operates, the more expensive replacement becomes. This is why the most powerful technology companies do not only sell features, they sell ecosystems. Because a product can be replaced, an ecosystem is much harder to replace.
Lock-in becomes even stronger when a system has a network effect. A network effect exists when a product becomes more valuable as more people use it. A communication platform becomes more useful when more people are connected. A marketplace becomes more attractive when more buyers and sellers participate. A payment system becomes more convenient when more merchants accept it. A developer platform becomes more powerful when more developers build on it. The system grows, and growth creates more value. But growth also creates pressure. If everyone you need is already on one platform, leaving becomes difficult. A business may prefer another system, but its customers are somewhere else. Its suppliers are somewhere else. Its employees are trained somewhere else. Its partners are integrated somewhere else. The network becomes a form of economic gravity. The more participants join, the harder it becomes for any individual participant to leave. This creates a powerful feedback loop. More users attract more businesses. More businesses attract more users. More activity creates more data. More data improves the platform. A better platform attracts more users, and the cycle continues. Eventually, the platform may no longer compete only on product quality. It competes on ecosystem size. A smaller competitor may build an excellent product, but the larger network can still win because users are not buying software in isolation. They are buying access to an ecosystem. This is where competition begins to change. The question is no longer which product is better. It becomes which system already controls the relationships everyone depends on.
There is a difference between creating value and extracting value from control. A company creates value when it builds something useful, a product, a service,
a network, an infrastructure system. But once the system becomes essential, a different opportunity appears. The owner of the system may be able to extract value simply because others depend on access. This is the logic of rent-seeking. The platform becomes a gate. The infrastructure becomes a toll road. The ecosystem becomes a dependency. The customer pays not only for what the system does, but for continued access to the system. This does not automatically mean the system is inefficient. A platform can create enormous value. A cloud provider can make computing cheaper. A payment network can make transactions easier. A software ecosystem can increase productivity. The economic question is what happens after dependency becomes established. Can the customer easily negotiate? Can the customer switch? Can a competitor enter? Can a new platform recreate the network? The stronger the dependency, the greater the bargaining power of the infrastructure owner. This is why rent-seeking economies are often built around control points: a platform, a standard, a marketplace, a payment rail, a cloud environment, a software ecosystem. The owner does not need to control every transaction. It may simply collect a fee whenever the transaction passes through its system. The toll may be small, but the volume can be enormous. Millions of users, thousands of businesses, billions of transactions. A tiny fee multiplied by a massive network becomes a powerful economic machine. This is the architecture of digital rent. The system creates value. Then the system charges for continued access to the value network it created. Cloud computing changed the economics of technology. Companies no longer needed to build every server themselves. They could rent computing power, storage, databases, security, networking, and artificial intelligence infrastructure. The model was revolutionary. Instead of buying infrastructure, companies could access it. Instead of building everything, they could scale quickly. The cloud reduced the cost of starting. But access creates a new question. What happens after a company builds its entire business inside one cloud environment? The company may use proprietary databases, specialized tools, unique security systems, custom integrations, and cloud-specific architecture. The system becomes efficient, but increasingly specific. Moving to another provider may be possible, but it requires rebuilding, reconfiguring, testing, migrating, and retraining. The business may technically have options, but the transition carries risk. This creates cloud lock-in. The customer is not trapped by a single server. The customer is embedded in an architecture. The deeper the architecture, the more expensive the migration, and the more valuable the provider becomes. This is one of the most important economic shifts of the digital era. Companies once owned physical infrastructure. Now many rent critical infrastructure from a small number of technology providers. The business may own its brand, its employees, its products, its customers, but the digital machinery that runs the business may belong to someone else. The company may control the front end, while another company controls the infrastructure underneath. And whenever one company becomes dependent on another company's infrastructure, the relationship becomes more than a transaction. It becomes a power structure. The most effective lock-in does not feel like a prison. It feels like convenience. Everything works together. Your data is already there. Your settings are already saved. Your contacts are already connected. Your employees already know the system. Your customers already understand the process. The ecosystem is comfortable, and comfort has economic value. The more convenient the ecosystem becomes, the more costly it feels to leave. This is why the most powerful platforms often expand beyond their original product. A company begins with one service, then adds another, then another. The goal is not always to sell more products. The goal is to create more connections. More connections create more convenience. More convenience creates more dependency, and dependency increases retention. A user may stay because the products are good,
but the user may also stay because everything else is already connected. The same principle applies to businesses. A company may use one service for communication, another for storage, another for payments, another for analytics, another for identity. But when these systems are integrated, the ecosystem becomes difficult to replace. The platform is no longer selling one product, it is selling a world. And once the customer lives inside that world, the competition must do more than offer a better feature. It must offer an alternative universe. This is why ecosystem competition is so difficult. A challenger may build a better application, but the incumbent may control the surrounding architecture, the network, the data, the identity, the distribution, and the habits. The user may not be choosing between two products. The user may be choosing between two entire systems.
The true strength of a platform is revealed when a customer tries to leave. The subscription price is visible. The switching cost is not. The company must calculate the migration, the data, the integrations, the training, the downtime, the security, the legal agreements, the customer experience, the internal disruption, and the risk of failure. This is the cost of escape, and the cost of escape determines the strength of lock-in. A system with low switching costs must continuously earn loyalty. A system with high switching costs can rely more heavily on dependency. This creates a fundamental difference in business models. Some companies compete for customers every day. Other companies become part of the infrastructure customers cannot easily replace. The first model depends on attraction. The second depends on embeddedness. And the most powerful technology companies often combine both. They attract users with convenience, then deepen the relationship through integration, then increase dependency through data, then strengthen the network through scale. Eventually, the system becomes difficult to challenge, not because the customer is forced to stay, but because leaving requires rebuilding too much. This is the invisible power of digital infrastructure. A customer may be free to leave, but freedom has a price. And when the price becomes high enough, choice becomes theoretical. The platform does not need to say, "You cannot go." The architecture says it for them.
Technology changes quickly. Platforms rise. Products evolve. New companies appear. Old companies disappear. But the architecture of dependency remains. A company creates a useful tool. Customers adopt it. Data accumulates. Workflows develop. Integrations multiply. Networks expand. And gradually, the tool becomes infrastructure. The infrastructure becomes dependency. And dependency becomes power. This is the hidden logic of tech lock-in. The most valuable technology may not be the technology with the most users. It may be the technology with the highest cost of replacement. Because once a system becomes embedded, the economics change. The company is no longer competing only to attract customers. It is competing to become difficult to remove. The platform becomes a layer beneath the business. The cloud becomes a layer beneath the application. The operating system becomes a layer beneath the user. The payment network becomes a layer beneath the transaction. The infrastructure becomes invisible. And invisible infrastructure can become extremely powerful. This is how rent-seeking economies emerge. Not necessarily through force, not necessarily through deception, but through accumulated dependency. A system becomes useful, then essential, then difficult to replace, and eventually, wealth follows architecture, and architecture creates dependency. The owner of the system can extract value from everyone who needs continued access. This is the architecture of modern digital power. The user sees convenience. The company sees efficiency. The platform sees dependency. And dependency creates leverage. The future will not be determined only by who invents the next technology. It will be determined by who controls the systems everyone else builds on top of. Because the most powerful company may not be the company that sells the most products. It may be the company that owns the infrastructure beneath the products, the platform beneath the business, the standard beneath the platform, the network beneath the standard, and the dependency beneath the network. In the physical economy, a toll road can charge every vehicle that passes. In the digital economy, a platform can charge every business that cannot afford to leave. The system may look open. The customer may appear free. The market may appear competitive. But beneath the surface, the architecture determines the options. And when the cost of leaving becomes greater than the cost of staying, a product becomes infrastructure. Infrastructure becomes leverage. Leverage becomes rent. And rent becomes wealth. Because in the modern economy, the greatest source of power may not be owning everything. It may be owning the system that everyone else depends on. Nixera, decoding systems, architecting wealth.